Our new president-elect Joe Biden isn't the only person poised to turn the tide in America, and that's why all eyes are on Georgia right now. Our next guest is in a heated runoff Senate race against Republican Senator David Perdue. Now, could that help shift the balance of the entire U.S. Senate? It may. So please welcome Democratic challenger Jon Osoff. Sonny has the first question.
Yes. Jon, thank you for joining us. Well, Joe Biden won the presidency, even though the race in your home state of Georgia still hasn't been called. What was your reaction when you heard the news that former Vice President Joe Biden is now the president-elect?
Hey, y'all. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. And look, I mean, like so many, I took a deep breath and felt relief that we are turning the page on these 4 years of constant outrage and division and scandal, and most of all, the catastrophic incompetence, which has cost so many lives, ripped our country apart, gotten us deeper into this mess that we find ourselves in now. And I think that as the dust settles on this presidential race, we got to recognize we're still in the midst of a pandemic, a profound public health crisis. Hundreds of thousands of lives hang in the balance. Millions of livelihoods and jobs and homes and businesses hang in the balance. And the task now is to mount a competent and focused public health response and get economic relief to people who are suffering so we can jumpstart this economy, get back to normal.
It is a profound fact that the balance of power in the United States Senate is coming down to Georgia, right there. Both Senate races there are going to runoff elections in January, one between Democrat Raphael Warnock and Republican Kelly Loeffler, and one between you, Mr. Ossoff, and your opponent, Republican incumbent David Perdue. Democrats need to win both seats to take control of the Senate and get anything done. With so much at stake, what are the Democrats going to do to turn out the vote?
Well, we're doing everything in our power to motivate people to get back out to the polls. And the sense of enthusiasm and excitement, we are invigorated in Georgia by this recent victory in the presidential race. But we also recognize that in order for us to recover from this pandemic, and in order for us to enact a policy program that will help people, we need to be able to govern. And that comes down to these two races here in Georgia. I mean, the work that's been done in Georgia over the last 10 years, y'all, is just incredible. The work led by Stacey Abrams, voter registration, mobilizing communities, reaching out to voters who hadn't heard from politicians in a very long time. We really have the wind at our backs, and now it's about getting folks back out to the polls for this January 5th runoff.
President Trump has continued to falsely assert that the election is being stolen from him and is pushing for a recount in several states, including Georgia, where he trails by a razor-thin margin. Now Senators Perdue and Loeffler are attacking Georgia's Secretary of State, who also happens to be Republican himself, for a lack of transparency in this election and are calling for his resignation. Do you think there's any basis for these claims?
I think that they are in disarray because they felt entitled to a cakewalk here. I mean, y'all, when I announced this campaign about 14 months ago, I was telling everybody that Georgia was the most competitive state in the country. And I'm sure that y'all didn't doubt me, but there were a lot of people who did. But it is all that work on voter registration and mobilization and organizing and volunteerism that has made Georgia the most important battleground state in America right now. I mean, that's shocking to a lot of folks who think of Georgia as this sort of GOP stronghold where we can't compete. Now it's the top battleground in the country, and I think that these incumbent Republican senators just felt entitled to an easy dance back to victory. They're in for the fights of their lives. They don't like it, but rather than organizing and getting out the vote to win, they're taking it out on each other.
Now, you're right. Georgia has become the key battleground state now. It hasn't gone blue, though, since 1992. And that's largely, I think, because of changing demographics and the work of Stacey Abrams to register black voters and increase voter turnout. Are you surprised by the numbers you're seeing? I don't think so. But does it signal to you a new political future in Georgia?
It does. I mean, it's a beautiful thing. There's been so much work put into this over the last 10 years, so much hard work. You mentioned Stacey Abrams, all of the amazing volunteers and activists who have made this possible. And it comes at this moment when we really need this fresh start as a country. I mean, I don't know about y'all. The last 4 years have just been so exhausting, so miserable, and not just for Democrats, but for all of us. The constant division and all of the outrage and scandal and insult, it just doesn't have to be this way. We got to take a deep breath and recognize that now we have the opportunity to define a new era in our history, to heal this country, to bring Americans back together, to remember that we're one people, we're all brothers and sisters, and we face a crisis right now, and we've got to come together to meet this moment. And I am so excited that Georgia has the opportunity to deliver these 2 victories so that we can meet this moment, so that we can chart a new course forward, we can overcome this pandemic, and we can deliver for working families across this country.